Hello everyone, welcome back, or hello, whether you're coming back or this is your first time here. My name is Brenda, and I love to cross stitch and all kinds of embroidery and all kinds of handwork, which is my channel is called Handwork Maniac. It's been a couple weeks. Life got away from me like it does for everybody. The end of the school year where I work is a little crazy, so I thought I would just wait until school was out to do the next video, which is today, celebrating my first day of Christmas break. I'm the administrative secretary at the local public junior high, so yesterday was the last day of school, and we don't have to go back until January 3rd, so I get a full 2 weeks off. Fabulous. And because I'm not a teacher, I'm the administrative secretary, there's no work that I have to bring home with me, so that is always the most fabulous thing, to have a true break. And there's no one at work like covering for me who's going to call me and say, you know, when you're on vacation and someone's covering for you and they call you and say, what about this, what about this? The school is closed, there's nobody there, so there's no one going to be calling me and no one I have to feel bad because they're covering for me. So best part about this job is the hours and all the days off. Fabulous. So I am celebrating being on Christmas break. I'm an empty nester. All my children are grown and gone, so they'll come over several times. We have several holiday traditions that we do. We're going to get together this Saturday and do gingerbread houses. We always do that. But we do the simple, easy kind where you just buy graham crackers, and we have find all of our serrated knives in the house, and we cut the graham crackers carefully, trying not to break them. And I do make royal icing and put it in piping bags, and just lots of candy and anything we can think of that would look good on there, and put them on paper plates or maybe a piece of cardboard covered with tin foil. And everyone we sit around, and we've done that since the kids were little, so that's a tradition now. They come over and do that. We're going to do that Saturday evening. Today is Thursday. I don't even know what day it is. Thursday, December 20th, I think. And then I'll see them all again on Christmas Eve. I'll see some of them, and then I'll see all of them on Christmas Day. But other than that, I have, we do have a couple of commitments, some holiday parties and birthday parties to go to, but other than that, I am on break, getting some stitching stuff organized, cleaning up. The days are so short now, and it's so hard to film in daylight up in the new room in our house where all the windows are, that now we're down in my sewing room. Maybe I'll be able to, since I'm not using natural light and I've just used some lights I brought in here, maybe I'll just keep turning around next month or two while I film down here, so you can see all the sides of it. I'm very fortunate to have a room that's just for me, that I can put all of my stuff in, all of my sewing stuff, all my handwork stuff. Something else I was going to say about that, completely forgot. Don't know. Anyway, let's jump right into cross stitch, shall we? Which is why you're watching this channel, not to hear about everything else. Okay. Next week, while I'm still on break and after Christmas, I will do a 2018 report on everything I finished in 2018, and then I'll do a whip parade, everything I still have left that has been started. And then I wanted to, Michelle Farm Girl, a couple of videos ago, or maybe her last one, I can't remember, talked about how she has a basket, because she stitches up in her bedroom, in bed usually, and she has a basket where she keeps all of her stuff. And I was thinking, that is brilliant. I mostly stitch up in the new room now that we added onto our kitchen, and it's just windows all the way around. I love it up there. But every time the grandkids come over, I need to put all of the stitching stuff away. So I kept trying to think of a piece of furniture with cabinet doors that maybe would, because I have two-year-old grandchildren who open everything, so it would have to be something that would lock or we could secure. And the room's not very big, and I just kept thinking, where can I put, so I can have my stitching nest that we all have, but quickly put everything away when we had the kids and grandkids coming over, so that the mothers don't have to worry about chasing their kids all around, making sure they didn't touch anything. I try really hard to make the house a little more baby proof so they can relax when they're here. Anyway, so Michelle at Farm Girl was talking about this basket, and I just loved that idea. So I went to Hobby Lobby and got a basket, and normally this would be full of all of my project bags, but they're all out because they're ready to show you. And then I also at Hobby Lobby got this little basket that fits in it to keep all of my everything I keep next to my stitching chair. Any tool I might need, so that while I'm stitching you don't have to get up and waste your time going to find it, because you've got precious stitching time. You don't want to be wasting your time looking for tools, right? So thank you, Michelle. That is the most fabulous idea. And then when it's time to clean everything, I throw everything in the basket and just tote the basket down to the sewing room and close the door, because the 2-year-olds don't know how to open a door yet. Hopefully by the time they know how to open a door, they will know that they're not supposed to touch things. You hope. And then I also loved Michelle. She talked about the wonderful stitching journals they got at the retreat that she did in October. And I loved that idea too, that she talked about if she had it right there next to her, she was more likely to write down when she started a new project, if she changed out the colors, what she changed, because she's right there and she'll write it down really quickly instead of trying to remember later, or never writing it down and then wishing you had, what fabric did I use. So I already had a book started where I had written down, I'd tried a couple of years ago to well, it took several days to write down everything I could remember. I have a Fotki, F-O-T-K-I account. It's a photo storage website where I used to keep a picture of every finish and every whip, and then after it was a whip I'd move it to the album of the finishes, and I had the finishes organized by year. It's still there, but I haven't kept up on it, and realized when my subscription ended once and was trying to get resubscribed to it and didn't have access to it, that all of my information about when it was started and what threads I used was on there, because that's where I was using to keep track. So I took a couple days and wrote it all in this book in case I ever lose access to that information. I needed it in here. So I have it in here, and I can go in and make a note. Oh, it's going to wash it out because I have too many bright lights in here. But it just, I wrote the name, what the day I started, if I use something different, and then when I finish, I'll go in and write what day. Loved that idea. Thank you, Michelle. Love having it in here where I can just grab it real quick and make a note. This is my list of Mania. This was my Mania list, which I will continue next year. So that's in here. Love that basket. Love it. It just makes me happy to have it sitting up there next to me with all my fun things in it. All right, let's go to whips. Current whips. I had several finishes this week, so the whip pile is that I worked on this week is much smaller. So exciting. Still working on Shores of Huckran Hollow. I try and put in an hour or a thread on that every day. This is the block I'm working on for December, and I'm making great progress on it, so I don't think I will have any problem finishing that by the end of December. I'm just basically to the fill-in. This whole section is filled in with this grayish blue color, and then this whole thing down here is filled in with a light gray. So this is almost a full coverage piece, but it is well on its way, and I've got, I'm not at work until the new year, so I should have plenty of time to finish that and then start the next block for January and get a good head start on that before I'm back to work. I am not going to take it off the Q-snaps for you. I'm sorry. I don't love you that much. And since I'm just showing you this block, and I showed you this block that I finished in my last video, then this is all you're going to get. I'm sorry. Now you can see how I do it on Q-snaps. I stitch on the front of Q-snaps. I do not stitch in the ditch on the back. If I have to fold my fabric over, I always fold it over so that the back side is the one that's getting the Q-snap on it. If there's not enough, as your Q-snaps get older, they start to stretch out a little bit, and they're not as tight, so I will use pieces of, you can see it right here, Warm and Natural, just some kind of, or felt, put a piece under there. Or if I have to put the Q-snap right over some stitching and I don't have any fabric to fold over underneath, then I will use pieces of felt or Warm and Natural to put over it so that the Q-snap is never directly touching my stitching. I love key snaps because they're portable, they're easy to take on and off. I can take them everywhere. I do use scroll rods for my more serious embroidery pieces, but that is much less portable and much heavier and much bulkier to work on. You can see my lap stand is back there in the corner behind the ornaments. I can use Q-snaps on that. I can put stretcher bars like you see back there on the wall. Those are stretcher bars. Those will fit in there. And my big scroll rods will fit in there because the bottom of it extends out. And I showed it to you on my very first video if you want to go back and look at that. It's an Artisan Designs lap stand. Love, love, love it. And then someone was teasing me that I had like 3 needles down here and none of them were stuck to the needle minder. I had someone comment. I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was. It was making me laugh. I mostly use needle minders to hold. I'll make a working copy of the pattern. I started to tell you this in my last video and then didn't finish. And then I'll fold that working copy all up so that I can only see the part that I need to see for what I'm working on, and I put it on a magnet right next to where I am so that I do not have to look down at the pattern or anywhere else. It is right there next to what I'm working on. And I do use the needle minder when I need to change of thread and I just need to put the needle down for a minute. I love just dropping it close by and it will just stick right there, and and then pick it up and put the new thread on, or if I need to go answer the phone, or if I'm just putting it down for a couple hours and I know I'll come back, I'll just stick it right there. But when I'm done with this and need to put it away in the bag, which right now is this bag right here, which is fabulous because it has a pocket on the front and it zips and it has handles, I know that that needle is going to get knocked off of there when I squish it back down into this bag. So when I'm done stitching and putting it back in the bag, I always put the needles in the fabric. I live in Utah. It's extremely dry. I have never in my life, even stuff I kept from when I was a kid, things do rust here if they're outside, but if it's kept in the house, things just don't rust here because it's so dry. I have never ever had a needle rust in the fabric, but I understand. If you live in a moist climate, you would not leave a needle parked in a piece of fabric for very long at all because there is a possibility it would rust or leave a mark. I'm just fortunate to live in Utah where we have way other problems with it being too dry, but I've never ever have to worry about a needle leaving a mark in a fabric. So that was just a habit I got into when I was young. I stick it in the fabric really well so that it doesn't, next time I pull it out of the bag, it's not lost. But that's why I have all these wonderful needle minders, but quite often you'll see the needle parked somewhere else, not on the needle minder. All right, shores. I started stocking for my daughter-in-law. I told you about in the video I made on Thanksgiving Day, which could have been the last video I made. Now I can't remember. I think it is. And I knew that I was going to be doing stocking for each one of my daughter-in-laws after that, and so I needed a Christmas bag to keep it in, and so I had to order the Evertote Christmas bag that she had this month. Wonderful, wonderful bag. I love it. And this is where the Christmas stockings will live for the next year. And yes, it has the red gingham inside, and it came with the little bag and a free mitten pattern that was so cute, and some tea, and it's just a wonderful. Thank you, Evertote. I know your name, and I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but thank you. It's fabulous. Here's all the floss for the stocking. This is, oh, and I just had it here, from the Better Homes and Gardens Heirloom stocking collection. It was in their magazines every July, August. They would do another stocking in the collection. And then they did reprint them in this booklet that you can still buy, still available, I believe. But it has all 9 of the stockings in the series. And all of my family have stockings from this series, and my 2 daughter-in-laws expressed an interest in having a stocking that matched their husband, so I am happy to make them for them. Loved making these stockings. Yes, I know they're dated. Yes, I know it's very 90s, but 80s, 90s, but we still love them because it was a tradition at our house. I am making the kitchen one for my daughter-in-law, Hannah. That's the one I started on first. Let's see if I can find a picture for you. Is this one. This is the same one I made for my oldest daughter, Catherine. The very first one I ever made, the very first one I ever saw in the magazines. I know I went back and looked, and it was not the first one they did. I think it was like the third one. But it was the first one I saw and loved it and knew that was the one I wanted to make for my daughter. Catherine was only 6 months old maybe when I started on it. I had it finished by the time she was 18 months though. There's a really cute picture of her on Christmas with it. And no, I did not know how to finish it. I do know how to some basic sewing skills. I don't do, you know, altering or setting sleeves is not my favorite thing, but I do some basic sewing. So we were home for Christmas that year and out in Vernal. My parents lived out in Vernal at that time, and we had gone out there for our whole Christmas break, and we're going to be there for several days. So on Christmas Eve, my mom helped me and taught me how to finish it, how to cut the lining fabric in the back, and we actually made this cording just like the instructions in the book say, where you buy cotton rope and you cut bias strips, make bias strips like you make to bind the edge of a quilt, where you have to cut the fabric you sew it on the bias and then you cut it in a long strip. She taught me how to do that, and then you cover the rope with that and then you sew it in. I mean, I'm sorry, Hannah and Lauren, but you're not going to get that handmade cording. You're going to get cording already made from the store that has the little strip on it so that I can just sew it in when I finish it. And so it's in this bag. I take the pattern off. And this is how far it is. Not very far, but a great start. It's the shelves with and I have it upside down. Shelves with it's a kitchen, so now I'm thinking, I know I said last week that maybe they were shaker boxes, but now I'm thinking they're pots and pans. So they look like shaker boxes to me, but I'm pretty sure they're pots and pans up on a shelf. So that's the start on that. And I will keep working on that all year. It'll be one of my regular whips. And my only other whip right now is the sweater that I started either last video or the video before that. I told you that we had a long-term sub at work has made. She came to work again the other day, and I asked her how many she makes a year. She makes about 15 a year of these and gives them away to people that she works with, people that she knows, people who ask for them because they're so fabulous. I have a whole bunch of Utah quarter made into magnets. My L&S Craft Center of Fine Stitchery in Salt Lake City sells them. I love them. It's the Utah quarter with the golden spike on it. I must have, I don't know, 8 of these. They're on everything. And now I lost the back of the magnet. So this is, let's see, let's show you I decided to do this Debbie Mumm. It's also with Mill Hill design called Four Seasons Pine Hill House. And if in either last video or the one before that, I explained exactly how I did it and how I chose it and how I placed it and all of that stuff. So go back and watch that if you're interested. I won't go into all of that again today. It does have a lot of beads on it because it is a Mill Hill kit, or not a kit, a Mill Hill design. There are white beads that show the snowdrifts in here and along the edge of the house and right here on the roof. And for those white, I'm not doing beads. You could on the front of a shirt. You can buy shirts all the time that have beads on the front, or a sweatshirt, you know, kind of thing. But I chose to do this Red Heart baby yarn that has a little bit of has one strand in it that's shiny. I'm going to use that instead wherever there's those white beads, just to make it stick up and give it a little bit of a texture, like there is some snow sticking up there. So here is how far I am. I'm very happy with it. I don't know if you can see, you might be able to see the yarn that sticks up a little bit. I did it on top of the house here, on top of the door already, and it is all the way around the roof. But it does stick up a little bit and give that little bit of a chunky texture. it's been fun to work on. When I realized that I was never going to have it done in time to wear it to work this year, then I kind of slacked off on it, but I need to work on it some more. I may work on it some more this year while I'm home from work, Christmas season, and then I may put it away until next year and pull it out again before Christmas next year. I don't think I'll keep working on it all year. It goes fast. I'm using the whole, all 6 strands of the DMC Floss, the whole thing. And this is 8.5 count waist canvas. I'm using hair clips to hold it up out of the way so you can get your hand inside the shirt easier. This is a Oat Heather colored men's sweater from Wal-Mart, George brand. It was the only thing I could find. It's cut just like a sweatshirt, like it has the same look as a sweatshirt. It's just a lightweight sweater because I really wanted this oatmeal color because I knew the snow would show up better on that. I was going to put it on a sweatshirt, but all I could find was a white sweatshirt or a gray sweatshirt, and I really wanted something this color, so I decided to try it on this and see how it goes. So that's that. And those are my only 3 whipped right now. Catherine, are you just so impressed? I have to show my daughter Catherine. This is all that's left on my whip-a-board, and I'll show you all of these. I'll show you all these projects. Even these ones over here that are in craft prison that may never come out of craft prison. I'll show all of you, show them all to you next week when I do the 2018 report and Whip Parade. All of this down here is finished stuff. I cross it out and turn the magnet upside down so I can use it again. But I just had to say, Catherine, look, this is all there is left. Okay, finishes. Let's show some finishes. I finished Quaker Diamonds. I am so excited. I started this in 2012. So what is that, 6 years? I love Rosewood Manor designs. Almost every Rosewood Manor design that comes out, I look at it and go, oh, that's gorgeous. My daughter Catherine loves sunflowers, loves them. They had one recently come out, I believe it was last market, that's sunflowers, and she's thinking about buying that one. But we have to laugh about it because Rosewood Manor has a lot of color changes and little onesie twosies. And where there's not, it's not full coverage. I mean, you can see like on this one right here, it's every other one. So it's hard when you have a little onesie twosie or something like, it's just this big or just this big and it's a different, there's only one color, like the middle of that is a different color, one stitch. It's hard to anchor your thread when it's little onesie twosies out in the middle of nowhere. So that makes it not as fun to work on when I have to keep changing threads and it's hard to anchor them. And I started with one strand over 2 threads because this is 40 count. This is 40 count. Picture this plus legacy. But I didn't like, it's Valdani threads, but it's not the kind that come in on a spool like that shows in this picture. They do have these wonderful ones that are on a spool like this, which I think people also use for punch needle. I bought the ones that come 6-stranded cotton that come, and I know they come in several different kinds. I bought this kind that comes on a card like this. And the ones that I was using for the other, some came pre-cut in pre-cut lengths and some didn't. But it is 6-stranded, over-dyed cotton, 10-yard. Thanks, that was what I used. And so I went to 2 strands, which if this was a full coverage piece would have never worked. It would have been because it is thick. It is really thick, but because it is not full coverage, it worked out great. These threads kind of remind me of flower threads. They're cottony, kind of fuzzy. So they create a great texture on here. The colors are just beautiful. But I'm just so excited that I finished it. So excited. So every time what I was saying was every time Catherine and I look at a Rosewood Manor and go, oh, that is so pretty. And then we look at each other and just go, no, no, don't do it, Mom. She'll say, Mom, no. I'd work on it for a little while and then I'd get tired of it and I had a hard time pulling it out. Once I got working on it, I was fine, but it's just the thought of pulling it out and you're just like, oh, and all the color changes. And so that was one of the reasons why this was every Tuesday project, because I knew I wouldn't work on it all the time for very long because I'd get tired of it. So, but I knew if I pulled it out every Tuesday and just said, you just have to work on it first I'd work on Shores of Hawk Run Hollow for an hour or a thread or a couple hours if I had a long evening. And then I'd work on this for the rest of the evening, and that was all I had to work on it. And once you get working on it, then you're excited and you don't want to put it down. But I worked on it every Tuesday, just hoping it would make some progress and get done by the end of the year. I started that in October, and lo and behold, look, it's finished by the end of the year. And it, like I said, it's very thick. So if you were doing a full coverage piece, it would have been too thick. It would not have worked. But it worked great for this piece. All right, sorry, enough of that. Enough staring at that. I also finished September Quilt by Paula Vaughn. And I did not write down when I started this. Catherine, do you have any idea? I'm thinking at least 8 years ago, 7 years ago. Catherine was given this book by someone who was getting rid of their cross-stitch stuff. It's Quilts for All Seasons by Paula Vaughn. And it has a quilt for every month of the year, and this is the September one. And she was thinking about maybe, way back then, stitching all of them and using them as blocks in an actual quilt. So I said, well, I'll make one for you. That would be easy. I knew better. I know Paula Vaughn. I've been stitching since like 1981. I know. But I forget. Paula Vaughn is full coverage. It was full coverage with like 20 colors of back stitching. In fact, I made a mistake on the back stitching around the apples. It's not the right color, but I decided to leave it because it looks good to me and I'm not ripping it out. And it's done. And Catherine, if you'll remember on my show where Catherine was a guest, she said, Mom, I don't want to do that anymore. In fact, I probably won't do any more Paula Vaughn. I probably won't ever do a Paula Vaughn. I was like, oh good, we're done, right? So, but it is pretty. I love it. I will frame it and hang it up. But we will not be doing the rest of the ones in the book. But it is turned out great. I am very pleased. It is on white Aida, 28 count Aida, 14 count Aida. I can't remember if I told you, Shores of Hawk Run Hollow is on 40 count Picture This Plus Heritage, 1 strand over 2 threads. The Heirloom Stocking is on 28 count Mushroom Lugana even weave, and it's DMC 2 over 2, 2 strands over 2 threads. The sweater I told you is on 8.5 count canvas on a sweater using DMC. The September quilt was DMC Quaker Diamonds, was 40 count on Picture This Plus Legacy. And then, oh, and I have one more finish. I forgot. 2 more finishes. I did finish the Manger Ornament by Alessandra Adelaide. I decided not to do this top part because I thought it would be easier to make in an ornament if it was just round, and I thought it was pretty just that way. I think it's gorgeous. It's white, 25 count even weave, 1 strand over 1 thread, and I used Glorianna Silk. Schoolhouse Red is the color. And there are 2 more in the series that I bought, that I showed you last time. Some Shepherd and some Wise Men. So I will do those eventually. It's a little, it's good. If I do it as an ornament, it's going to be a little on the big side, but I may still do that. I don't know. I'm trying to decide how I'll have it, how I will finish it. And then it actually called for 2 colors. It's got a light red and a dark red in there, and when I started it, I decided I was just going to do it in 1 color because the Schoolhouse Red does have a little bit of, it's over dyed. It has a little bit of variegation in it. And then it also has some gold French knots and beads. Gold beads. It has some gold beads in it. You could probably see them right here, right there. And then see these back stitched stars. There's one right there. There's one right here. I didn't do those either. I didn't put the beads in, and I didn't do those stars because I liked it. I liked it just the way it was. So that was another finish. And I finished, this was one of my mania starts. Those were both one of my mania starts. In fact, the September Quilt and Quaker Diamonds were also one of my mania. I did 5 whips in my mania list, so these were all mania. This is Secret Snowdrift by the Trilogy. It was a kit, came with the fabric and 2 little buttons. And I finished that. They're so cute. My favorite part is these 2 little penguins. They are the cutest thing. I love them. Peeking their little heads out. And then there is a star button and a little red cardinal button right here. And I'll probably do that as a flat fold. That stands up, maybe. I don't know how I'll finish that. I hate finishing. Oh, I hate it. Hate it, hate it. Anyway, so those were my 3 finishes. 4 finishes since I think my last video. All right, things I have purchased. Well, there was the Ever Tote bag that I already showed you. I was ordering some Christmas presents, and I was on Etsy and thought, I need some more Christmas needle minders. So I went a little crazy. This is a Snoopy needle minder. So cute. It's just a little bit concave, but they put, looks like the magnet is thick enough that it makes up for it. It still works great, and it is a strong, strong magnet, earth magnet. This was from Needle Minder Obsession. Her Etsy store is Stitchin' Mad, Stitchinmad. I don't know if the light is washing that out. You can read that. And then I also got this darling Gingerbread House. Has this, the back of it looks like this. And it's plastic. The little beads glued to it is so cute. And that is from Chapel View Crafts. Oh, handmade polymer clay. That's what it is. And it was on Etsy too. Doesn't have their Etsy store listed right here, but it's Chapel View Crafts. Gosh, I can't read any of that, can you? There we go. In England. Beautiful. I bought some other needle minders, but I can't show them to you because they're a gift. Maybe the recipient will show them to you after Christmas. I love to change out my scissor fob for the season. Decided I'm going to start doing that. So I got this scissor fob and this one, and I was very bad, and I pulled them right out and used them because I wanted them to use them right away. And I don't remember where I bought them, but they were on Etsy. I just did a search for Christmas needle fob, scissor fob, and they came up. I'm sorry. I should have kept track because I know how much work went into them and how beautiful they are. You did a beautiful job. This is the scissor fob that is usually on. These are my Dovo scissors. I love these scissors. I have had them for several years. I use them every day. These are by far my favorite scissors ever. And they usually have this fob on them that my daughter Catherine made for me one year for Christmas. Gosh, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I made a scissor fob for both of my daughters using this pattern, Blue Ribbon Designs, and it's red velvet inscription sampler. And each block is a different letter of the alphabet made into a design. It's hard to tell, but if you look close, you can tell that each one is a letter of the alphabet repeated around. It usually has 4 of them repeated around in like a mandala pattern. Mandala? So then after that, the next year, my daughter, Catherine, made me one with the bees. This is for Brenda. It has bees that go all the way around. I don't know if you can see them. But I love this fob. It's been on there forever. So that's my go-to fob when I don't have something else on there. Oh, let's see. I did purchase the 4 garden series from the Drawn Thread. There is the Spring Garden, the Autumn Garden, the Winter Garden, and the Summer Garden. They use a lot of specialty stitches, needlepoint silks, dinky dye hand-dyed silk. Some Karen water lilies, it looks like, thread gather silken colors. But they're so pretty. Blitz Stitch was talking about them on his channel. If he ever pulls it out and does a stitch along, I will join him because they are so gorgeous, and I purchased those. So I am ready. Of course, I don't have it kitted up yet. But. All right, I think that is all of my purchasing. Now I was going to show you I don't have very many ornaments. I just have a few. This is one I made for my mom in 2005, it looks like. And I know it was out of the Just Cross Stitch Ornament issue. I don't know which one, but obviously it would have to be before 2005. And I stitched it on, it's like Aida, but it's made out of plastic. It's flexible plastic. And then I just put felt on the back. Loved it because it was so easy to finish. And she actually has this, her whole tree, she collects Santa ornaments, so her whole tree is Santa ornaments. And she brought this over to me last Sunday and said, you might want to show this one on your video when you do your ornaments. And I said, yes, I do. I love him. I need to make some more on that. I still have that plastic canvasy stuff. It was fabulous for ornaments. This one was a leaflet that I bought. I don't have it out right now, sorry. It was Santa's from around the world. This one was from Germany. He's just stitched on perforated paper. I didn't even put felt on the back or anything. I just cut him out. My oldest son spent a couple of years in Germany, so Germany's special to us. I made that one. These two were made for me by a special friend, Robin. And she mailed them to me. I met her at a retreat back east, gosh, 10 or more years ago. No, I guess 20, I don't know. Yeah, about 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure this is a Little House Needleworks design. I'm not sure about this one, but I love them. I have them hanging up year round where I can see them, usually by my desk. This one was one I got in a ornament exchange at that retreat back east. I want to say Mary made this one, but I can't remember. Darling, and I don't know what the pattern is, I'm sorry. But I love that one. This is the fabric on the back. This one was a freebie design and kit we got at the retreat. And I don't know the pattern name on this one either. It's full of pecan shells, I believe. Crushed pecan shells. And these are Foxwood Crossing sleds, Foxwood Crossing designs. I made this one either last year or the year before. I did change this star into a metallic gold thread. And I made this one this year. This was one of my Mania starts. Love how easy those are to finish. I just used the Stitchery tape, double-sided Stitchery tape. Stuck them on. Love that. because you know how much I hate finishing. And then I also did this, was one of my mania starts as well. Those were all on perforated paper, the brown perforated paper. That one's so pretty. Also just sticks on the sled with Stitchery tape. So pretty. And then I do have some gorgeous ornaments that I have finished stitching but have not fully finished, that have been done for several years. This is a Blackberry Lane design. The Three Wise Men. Originally she said there were going to be 6 in the series, but I've only seen 3 so far. I haven't checked lately. There could be another one, I don't know. But last time I looked there were only 3. So this was the first one, the Three Wise Men. I did it... Gosh, Catherine, is this really 1/1 on 40 count? It's not 25 count, I can tell you that. And it's not 28 count. This is either... This might be 40 count white linen 1/1. And it is, so it's a Haid, basically. This is a mini type Heaven and Earth design project. And it took forever. Way longer than it should have. But I love it, love it. I need to finish it and enjoy it and hang it up, but I hate finishing so bad and I don't want to mess it up because it's such a lot of work and I love it so much. Does it say on the back how big the stitch count is? No, of course not. You know, you're thinking to yourself, it's just a little ornament. It won't take me very long. I think it took like 3 years, and I think Catherine took it home for Mother's Day and worked on it for me. I'm just curious how big it is. It's 120 stitches by 120 stitches. It says if it was on 36 count, it would be 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. So this is either 36 count or 40 count. It was tiny stitches. It was a lot of work. My daughter Catherine can attest to the fact that it was a lot of work. But gorgeous. Oh, I love it. So I wanted to do all 6 of them because I would love to have it be a collection on my tree, all 6 together. So then I started the second one. And this might be 1/1 on 25 count, because maybe I decided that that other one was way too small and we were crazy. I think so, Catherine. I think we decided to do this one bigger. So this one is Journey to Bethlehem. I believe that was second one that came in the series. Blackberry Lane Designs. Let's do it this way. I think you could read it better. And I got, part way into that, I got bogged down. It went for a couple of years, and Catherine took it home for Mother's Day. And my birthday's right next to Mother's Day, so she takes a couple of pieces home every year and works on them to get me jump started on them. She did quite a bit on this, and then gave it back to me so I could finish it. But those are, love that one. Mary and Joseph and the donkey. And then I have this one, but I have not started it. It's the Shepherds. It's called Keeping Watch. Love those. Need to finish them so I can hang them up and enjoy them. Oh, and then I was going to show you. Shepherd's Bush had this kit, and it's a little necklace. Had everything in it to make it. Had the fabric, had this glass pendant. On the back it says Let It Snow. It is over 1. I don't know what count fabric it is. Darling. Came in this cute box with directions. all the floss, the pendant, the ribbon. It even came with the ribbon to hang it around your neck. I wear it every year at Christmas. I also bought this one as well. It says bee on the front. It's a little bee skep, and then on the back it says garden and has some flowers and a little bee flying. I have not made this one yet. I need to, because I love that one. The Utah state symbol is the bee skep. Beehive, so we love the beehive. See if I got everything. Oh, what I wish I was stitching on. What happened to that? Almost done, I promise. Gosh, who was it that was talking about this? Country Stitchers, I think. She was talking about how she makes these Fern Ridge, I guess they're fobs. They're beaded. And I had seen them somewhere a long time ago. At maybe at the EGA Rocky Mountain, when it was, our region was here in Salt Lake City. Our chapter did it years ago. I can't remember where I saw one, but I loved them, and I have done a little bit of beading, not a lot, but a little bit, and I thought I could probably make those. I could figure that out. I took a beading class at the EGA region seminar. So maybe, I'm thinking maybe over my Christmas break, maybe I'll pull one out and try and make one. But there are, from the Fern Ridge Collections, makes these little kits. And this one is this one's called Amber. It's got a little dragonfly, and then it has all those beads that hang off the bottom. This is called Marin's World. It's got a fish, very fishy. Comes with all the supplies you would need to make it, and the directions. And then this one's called Pretty Peas. I just loved that one. So I may actually pull one of those out and start it. And then I look at this every Christmas. Every single Christmas I pull this out and think, oh, I want to work on that. It is Jim Shore, Three Kings. Love it. It's a bigger picture. I just finished Angel of Love earlier this year, Catherine, or was it last year? I want to say this year sometime. That was the most beading I have ever done in my life on one cross-stitch project. This has a lot of beading on it, so I may have to wait another year until Angel of Love is more out of my memory before I start it, but it's definitely not as much beading as Angel of Love. I still love it. I still pull it out every year. I still want to make it, but it does have quite a few beads on it. Many colors of beads, which is one of the things I think that makes it so beautiful, but I am definitely going to do that someday. That's what I wish I was working on today. But isn't that how it always is? You look at, you don't want to work on the whips that you have, you want to start something new. There's something about new starts, because you're tired of the ones you're working on. I don't know what it is. That's what I wish I was working on. All right, I think that's everything. I'll see you next week for my 2018 report and whip parade, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season, break from work, Christmas with family, whatever it is that you love about Christmas time. I hope you just enjoy it, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.